Ooh, yeah, now we're getting into the really good stuff. As a kid, I loved the Peanuts comic books, and I loved watching the Peanuts TV show. And, of course, yes, I loved the many different holiday specials, including Snoopy Come Home. And it was also fun performing as Pigpen and Linus in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown with my theater friends. As for this movie, I thought this was a really nostalgic film. Not only do we have Craig and Brian Schultz in charge of the screenplay, but I think the people at Blue Sky Studios did an excellent job making the animation stay true to the comics. Plus, the musical score by Christoph Beck is absolutely great, along with songs like Better When I'm Dancing, performed by Meghan Trainor, and That's What I Like About You, performed by Flo Rida. Plus, I think Noah Schnapp does a great performance as Charlie Brown. And despite his failures, I think Charlie Brown's role in this movie was very unique, due to him being determined to impress the little red-haired girl who just moved across the street from him. Also, I like the scenes when Charlie Brown tries to dance, when he does a book report on War and Peace on his own, where he supports his sister Sally during a talent show, and where he helps a kid fly a kite. And there's also that scene where he admits to the whole class that it was actually Peppermint Patty who aced the standardized test. Plus, Snoopy is very cute and funny throughout this whole movie. And I like when he, along with Peppermint Patty, Linus, Marcy, and Lucy, support Charlie Brown a few times. But to me, the scenes that were my absolute favorites are when Snoopy acts as the World War I flying ace on a daring mission to rescue a dog named Fifi from the Red Baron. Plus, I like that the movie uses Bill Melendez's archival recordings for Snoopy and Woodstock's vocals. Also, I think the other child actors do an excellent job voicing their characters. Just goes to show that even in a Peanuts movie by Blue Sky, Charlie Brown is still a good man. Way back in 1986, a little mouse made a big journey to America, only to get separated from his family during the trip. And that movie was An American Tail. And while Fievel was searching for his family, he not only found new friends, but he also found freedom, enchantment, adventure, and new beginnings. But in 1991, Fievel had a new adventure out west. Now, I must confess that I actually watched the sequel before I watched the first American Tail movie, due to the fact that I was about 3 years old back then. Anyway, in this movie, due to a cat threat in New York, Fievel and his family move out to a western town called Green River, where cats and mice can live in peace. However, while on the way there, Fievel overhears that a group of evil cats are planning to build a giant mouse trap and turn the mice into mouse burgers. In my opinion, even though Don Bluth had no involvement with this, I think Simon Wells and Phil Niblink made a great team while directing this. And Steven Spielberg's Amblimation Studio did great with the animation, just like they did with Balto. Also, I think this sequel is packed with clever and quotable humor, like when Tiger is chased by dogs, and a scene with dancing buffalo bones. Plus, the musical score by the late James Horner is great too. Speaking of music, some of my favorite songs include Way Out West, Rawhide, along with Tanya's songs like Dreams to Dream and The Girl You Left Behind. Also, I think the main character, Fievel, voiced by Philip Glasser, is an adventurous little mouse who sometimes endangers himself through his innocent actions, but at the same time, Fievel is determined to save his family from getting eaten. Tiger is still a great cat, especially since he's voiced by the late Dom DeLuise. Tanya, voiced by Kathy Cavadini, has a passionate dream for being a singer. And I like that Miss Kitty, voiced by Amy Irving, becomes Tanya's mentor. Also, I think the villain, Cat R. Wall, voiced by John Cleese, is not as threatening as Warren T from the first movie, but he's still very manipulative. But to me, the best character would have to be Sheriff Wiley Burp, an old dog voiced by the late Jimmy Stewart. While Wiley was a down-and-out drunkard with a broken spirit, I really love the sequence when Wiley Burp teaches Tiger to be a tough dog, and I thought the final climax felt like an epic Western showdown. However, the scene where Fievel was captured by a hawk and attacked by a scorpion did freak me out as a kid. Still, this movie is one of my favorite animated sequels, and with a movie like this, it makes Fievel an American legend and a Western hero. Now this spot is going to go to 3 movies that are all from the works of my childhood favorite author, Dr. Seuss. I may sound a little bit controversial for saying this, but I think animated Dr. Seuss is a lot better than live-action Dr. Seuss. And while I do enjoy the original animated specials, I need to remind you viewers that only theatrical animated movies are allowed to be on this list. Anyway, one example of why I enjoy these Seuss movies is that the animation, whether being from Blue Sky or Illumination, are very creative, and I think they stay true to Dr. Seuss's book illustrations. Also, all 3 of them are produced by Dr. Seuss's widow, Audrey Geisel, who sadly passed away in late 2018. Plus, not only do they do a good job of expanding each story, but they also bring back memories of when I got to perform in Seussical with my theater friends. Now, here's where I give a little bit of detail of why I like each movie. Starting with Horton Hears a Who, I like that Horton is voiced by Jim Carrey, who also played another Dr. Seuss character, and I think he had a really fun time voicing as a brave and loyal elephant who tries to save a small speck of dust filled with who's who are so tiny that you can't see them. Also, I think it's pretty interesting that Horton teaches the children about the nature of the jungle of Newell. The mayor of Whoville, Ned McDodd, is a relatable character, not only due to him having a huge family to take care of, but he's also under a lot of stress due to the jerkish city council not taking him seriously when Ned is trying to warn them that Whoville may be heading for disaster. Also, I think Ned's son, Jojo, voiced by Jason McCartney, despite not talking too much, is interesting due to him working on a musical contraption at the old observatory. Plus, like in the book, I like how Jojo saves Whoville with a very loud yop. Also, while I do like the idea of Sour Kangaroo being the villain, I still do not like her egomaniac and no-nonsense attitude due to her belief that imagination may be a threat to her authority over Newell. But on the other hand, I like that her son Rudy is different compared to the book. And it was cool that Vlad Vladikov, voiced by Will Arnett, posed a very serious threat when he attacks Horton. Plus, there are a few other characters that are memorable, like Dr. Mary LaRue from Who You, voiced by Isla Fisher, and Horton's mouse friend, Morton, voiced by Seth Rogen. Also, one of my favorite parts in the movie is the Japanese animation sequence. Moving on to the Lorax, what's interesting about this film is that its theatrical release date was on Dr. Seuss's 108th birthday, which to me is very special. Plus, believe it or not, The Lorax was Dr. Seuss's favorite book that he's ever written. Anyway, back to the film. I like several of the musical numbers, like Thneedville, Everybody Needs a Thneed, and Let It Grow. And I think it was pretty cool that the movie's main character, Ted Wiggins, and his love interest, Audrey, are named after Dr. Seuss and Audrey Stone Geisel. Plus, while Ted is only a kid and Audrey is a high school girl, I think they make a decent couple. Plus, I think Zac Efron and Taylor Swift do a great job voicing them. As for the Onceler, I think he's pretty similar to his book counterpart, while he tells Ted about what happened to the Trupula trees. However, during the flashbacks, not only do we clearly see him, but he's kind of over the top, especially when he plays his guitar. But overall, I think the Onceler's green business suit looks like the way he does in the book. Plus, I think Danny DeVito was a great choice to voice the titular Lorax. And I like the many different creatures, like the brown barbaloots, the hummingfish, and the swami swans. However, to me, the Onceler's song, How Bad Can I Be, was pretty catchy, and his Thneed invention is pretty cool. But the ending of his backstory goes from dark to emotional, and I also like the scene where the Onceler gives Ted the last Trupula seed, and when Ted convinces Thneedville that they need trees after revealing the environmental destruction outside town. Another character who I like in this version is Ted's Grammy Norma, voiced by Betty White. Not only due to her wisecracking personality, but because of her history with nature and her knowledge about the Onceler. However, to me, the villain, Aloysius O'Hare, is the only thing that I don't like about this movie. Mainly due to him being a money-grubbing idiot who likes to keep his citizens from leaving town, and he considers real trees as a threat to his oxygen-selling business. But overall, like in the book, I'm glad that this movie teaches us that unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Finally, we come to the Grinch. What I like about this version is that it's a 5-day-long story period, which to me gives the writers more things to work with. Plus, the way the Grinch is in this version is not only grouchy, but he kind of makes me think of how Dr. Seuss felt during the time, due to Christmas being so overly commercialized. Speaking of which, while the Grinch did professionally make Dr. Seuss feel better after writing the book, personally it didn't, due to the death of his first wife, Helen, and his father, Theodore. Anyway, I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a pretty good performance as the Grinch. And I think he's very inventive and creative while planning his Christmas heist. However, I liked the part where the Grinch realized that he hated Christmas due to his loneliness. Plus, I think his dog Max is loyal, sweet, and excitable at times. And I like that this version features a reindeer, since in the book it was said that reindeer were scarce. Also, I think Cindy Lou Who has a very interesting role in this version, due to her trying to help her overworked mother, Donna Lou, and she hopes that Santa Claus might be able to help her feel better. But after everybody's presents and decorations are stolen, Cindy learns from her mom that she's the best thing that's ever happened to her. Plus, I think it was very sweet of Cindy to invite the Grinch to Christmas dinner. Also to note, while there are several memorable Christmas songs, I think this movie's version of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch is an okay cover, but the Welcome Christmas song really put me in tears due to it being so beautiful, and it made my small heart grow 3 sizes. By the way, on a side note, while Green Eggs and Ham is a fun animated Netflix series, I hear that soon Warner Animation Group will be working on an animated version of The Cat in the Hat. And I just hope it'll be something to look forward to. Overall, these 3 Seuss movies are filled with childhood wonder, and in the words of Dr. Seuss, I hope for the children a world of peace, and that they never lose their sense of wonder and discovery. From there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Now, as I said in my top 13 films that I hate, Ice Age was not a good start for Blue Sky Studios. But in 2005, things started to shine for them after seeing this movie. If you've seen my blog, then you'll know that Robots is my absolute favorite movie from Blue Sky. Here you have Rodney Copperbottom, who wants to be an aspiring inventor, just like his idol, Big Weld. So, he travels to Robot City, only to find out that Big Weld is replaced, spare parts are no longer being developed, and sweepers are roaming the streets. What I like about this movie is that everything feels like it came right out of a William Joyce book. Not surprising, since Joyce produced the movie and wrote the story. Plus, the comedy in this movie can be very hilarious, and I think Robot City looks very breathtaking and futuristic. And I like the Crosstown Expressway, which takes robots from the train station to Big Weld Industries. Plus, I think all the robots are cleverly designed, and I like how some poke fun at stuff like security metal detectors, and a few others pose as fire hydrants, mailboxes, telephones, lampposts, and others. Also, I think the main character Rodney, voiced by Ewan McGregor, is a smart and aspiring robot filled with big ideas, and I like when he helps his dad wash dishes and when he helps fix several outmodes. And I think his Wonderbot is cute, funny, and tough, even though it gets nervous when it's under a lot of pressure. Plus, I think Rodney's new friends, the Rusties, are great characters. My favorites being Fender, voiced by the late Robin Williams, and his kid sister Piper, voiced by Amanda Bynes. Also, Rodney's idol, Big Weld, voiced by Mel Brooks, is such a jolly character, and I like that he invents things to make everybody's lives better, and that he encourages every robot to follow their dreams. Kind of like Walt Disney in a way. Also, the two villains, Ratchet and his mom, Gasket, are very ruthless and threatening characters, due to them hating rusty robots, forcing them to buy upgrades, and planning to add Ratchet's name to Big Weld Industries and to Robot City. Robots, a movie that can shine no matter what you're made of. Now, no list of favorite animated movies would ever be complete without talking about the very first Japanese animated movie that I ever watched. During the early 90s, long before I got into other anime films, my cousins introduced me to Studio Ghibli's mascot, Totoro. However, the version that I watched back then was dubbed over by Fox, though I haven't watched that version in years. But on the other hand, I think the 2005 Disney dub is a lot better. Anyway, this movie is about two sisters who move into an old country home with their father while waiting for their mom to recover from an illness. As they explore their new home, they encounter and befriend playful forest spirits, including the huge and cuddly Totoro. What I like about this movie is not only because it's set in 1955, but I think the animation by Studio Ghibli is beautiful. Plus, I think Hayao Miyazaki is kind of like the Walt Disney of Japan, due to him being a master of Japanese art and storytelling. Plus, I think the scenery around the Kusakabe house looks very peaceful, and the camphor tree where Totoro lives is very mysterious. One of my favorite scenes is when Satsuki and Mei join Totoro and his colleagues in a ceremonial dance to help their garden grow. Also, several other scenes in the movie can be very playful and funny at times, but later, the story becomes very serious when the girl's mother, Yasuko, has to stay in the hospital a little bit longer, and Mei runs off to the hospital by herself with a hedge of corn. Also, I think the opening and closing credits songs are really fun to listen to. As for the main characters, well, I think Satsuki and Mei are really playful and thick as thieves throughout most of the movie. And I can't believe how much the Fanning sisters have grown up since this movie. And while not having a lot of screen time, I think Totoro is an awesome, gentle, and helpful character, despite the fact that his roar scared me when I was little. Plus, this movie has several other memorable voice actors, like Tim Daly, Leia Salona, Paul Butcher, and Pat Carroll. So, if you want to introduce your children to Japanese animation or to Hayao Miyazaki, I suggest you start with this movie, My Neighbor Totoro, a magical adventure once you see it with your very eyes. And now we come to the movie that began the Disney revival. And trust me when I say that this was a glorious return to hand-drawn animation after 2004's Home on the Range. Inspired by The Frog Prince, the movie centers on Tiana, who dreams of one day opening the finest restaurant in New Orleans. However, her dream takes a slight detour when she meets Prince Naveen, who has been turned into a frog by a conniving voodoo magician named Dr. Facilier. Mistaking her for a princess and hoping to break the spell, Naveen plants a kiss on poor Tiana, thereby turning her into a frog as well. With the help of a trumpet-playing alligator, a Cajun firefly, and an old blind lady who lives in a boat in a tree, Naveen and Tiana must race to break the spell and fulfill their dreams. What makes this movie great is not only the timeless hand-drawn animation, but it is also the legendary directing duo of John Musker and Ron Clements. Plus, this movie has fantastic songs written by Randy Newman. Speaking of which, I love all these songs, like Down in New Orleans, Almost There, Friends on the Other Side, Ma Belle Evangeline, and Dig a Little Deeper. Plus, I think the main character, Tiana, is a hard-working young woman and a gifted chef. And throughout this movie, Tiana learns the importance of love, fun, and family. Naveen, in my opinion, doesn't start out too good due to his fun-loving, selfish, and spoiled behavior. But he's still a charming guy, and I like that after Tiana teaches him how to mince, Naveen teaches her how to dance. The two comic relief animal sidekicks, Ray and Louis, are really fun characters, and I find it interesting that they're named after two famous jazz musicians, like Louis Armstrong and Ray Charles. The villain, Dr. Facilier, makes a very worthy addition to the Disney Rogues lineup, and you gotta love how he interacts with shadows. Another reason why this movie is on my list is because it brings back memories of the times when I traveled to New Orleans back in 1998 and 2015. And those were wonderful experiences for me. Like when I got to pet a baby alligator on a swamp tour, when I got to learn about Mardi Gras, and I also got to learn about Louisiana's history and listen to jazz music. Also to note, just several months ago, Disney announced that they'll use this movie to re-theme Splash Mountain, where Tiana and Louis will have their first Mardi Gras celebration. And personally, I am going to miss Brer Rabbit, but on the other hand, I'm definitely looking forward to what the new ride will have in store for every Disney guest. With a film like The Princess and the Frog, it shows us that Disney can dig a little deeper and give us a wonderful revival era. Out of any animated fairy tale spoof film, Shrek is considered by many to be the most popular. And while it is a good movie with charming humor, though the main character Shrek had some ups and downs, the movie itself has aged pretty poorly. But thankfully, Shrek got better in 2004 when he got a theatrical sequel after re-defeating Farquaad in 4D. In this film, Shrek and Fiona are summoned to the kingdom of Far, Far Away for a royal ball in celebration of their marriage. However, Fiona's parents don't seem very thrilled with Shrek, since they expected Prince Charming, like how they arranged it with the fairy godmother. So they, along with Fiona's father, King Harold, band together to get Shrek away from Fiona. At the same time, Shrek is determined to make Fiona happy, and after drinking a magical potion, Shrek might have a chance to get himself and Fiona the happy ending that everyone else wants. But is it really what they want? The reason why this movie is on my list is because it has a better story than in the first movie, while making fun of classic fairy tale conventions. The characters are all equally as likable, the jokes are better and smarter, and the dialogue never got boring for me. Plus, I just love the way Far, Far Away looks, being reminiscent to Beverly Hills. And I really love the new fairy tale characters who make an appearance, like the ones who are seen at the Poison Apple Bar and at the Royal Far, Far Away Ball. Also, to me, King Harold, voiced by John Cleese, gets a lot of character development, and I'm glad that he gains a change of heart in order for Fiona to be happy with Shrek. The evil fairy godmother was a surprising villain due to her belief that ogres can never live happily ever after, and her son, Prince Charming, voiced by Rupert Everett, was kind of hammy. But the best character, in my opinion, would have to be Puss in Boots, voiced by the amazing Antonio Banderas, whom I think had a lot of fun being a Zorro-styled swords cat. For those who are wondering, I'll be vlogging his spin-off movie soon enough. Also, this movie's musical numbers, like Accidentally in Love, Funky Town, Ever Fallen in Love, La Vida Loca, and Holding Out for a Hero, are great musical numbers. Also to note, this movie was the last Shrek movie that Andrew Adamson directed before he got to work on the Narnia movies. By the way, if you want to know my thoughts on the third and fourth movies, well, they're okay, but not great compared to the first two films. Still, with that said, Shrek 2 is the perfect example of how an animated film can go far, far away. Now, believe me when I say that this movie was a huge underrated film during my childhood, even though I deeply regret not seeing it in theaters during the time. But I'm glad that this movie was the 100th film that I ever blogged on my show. Based on Ted Hughes' Cold War fable, The Iron Man, the movie follows a giant alien robot that crash lands near the small town of Rockwell, Maine, and forms an unlikely friendship with a 9-year-old boy named Hogarth Hughes, who, along with a beatnik named Dean McCoppin, must do what they can to save the misunderstood machine from a paranoid government agent. To me, this film is an animated masterpiece and one of the most underrated movies from Warner Brothers, next to other films like Space Jam and Cats Don't Dance. Plus, I think director Brad Bird did great with this movie before he brought great superheroes and Iron Chef rats to life. Plus, the story is both serious and thought-provoking. The animation is very well executed, the characters are all memorable and likable, and the moral isn't really subtle, but it's still presented in a way that makes it believable. The giant, while originally being sent to Earth as a weapon, is a very relatable character, and I like how he chose to become a hero, like Superman. Plus, Vin Diesel is awesome while voicing him. Hogarth is a likable kid due to him being raised on comic books and old monster movies. Plus, he's pretty smart compared to most 9-year-old kids. And I like when Hogarth outsmarts Kent Mansley to keep the giant a secret. Dean is a pretty cool guy, and since he is a beatnik, I like that he makes sculptures out of the junk that he collects. And Kent, while being an asshole, he seems like how most government people were during the 50s, being paranoid about nuclear war. So, with that said, The Iron Giant is a must-watch for every animation fan or anyone who loves underrated masterpieces or animated sci-fis. The Iron Giant, a movie that shows that you are who you choose to be. This is one of the best stop-motion movies ever made, and in my personal opinion, it has got to be Tim Burton's magnum opus. Plus, for those who don't know, Tim Burton is my all-time favorite director. By the way, while Tim Burton did write the story, his friend Henry Selick took the director's chair for the movie, due to Burton's commitment to Batman Returns. Anyway, in this movie, Halloween Town's Pumpkin King, Jack Skellington, is tired of the spooks and scares of Halloween every year, and he wants something new. But later, Jack comes across a series of doors that lead to different holiday worlds. And after entering the Christmas Town door, Jack becomes so amazed and obsessed that he wants to make Christmas in his own special and twisted way. To me, this movie has amazing sets, a creative story, and timeless songs written and composed by Danny Elfman. Most notably, the opening song, This Is Halloween, along with What's This?, Sally's Song, Kidnap the Sandy Claus, Making Christmas, and Oogie Boogie's song. You know, it's funny that I should mention that because I'm surprised that the film used ultraviolet lights that created that weird lighting effect in Oogie's casino layer. However, Henry Selick had to be very careful to avoid getting a skin disease from those type of lights. Scary, huh? Also, I love how Halloween Town is inhabited by eccentric, creepy, fun, and friendly characters. And I think the way they make Halloween-style Christmas toys is very creative. As for the main characters themselves, I think Jack Skellington is very relatable and sympathetic, and he kind of reminds me of how I feel during certain holidays, like Mother's Day, Christmas, and birthdays. Whenever I try to do something new for my mother. Jack's ghost dog Zero is cute and loyal, and I like when Zero guides Jack's sleigh through the night sky on Christmas Eve. Sally is another likable character. Not only does she have a secret crush on Jack, but she also serves as the voice of reason. Lock, Shock, and Barrel, aka the Halloween Town Crusaders, may be mischievous little pranksters, but they're not 100% evil. And their leader, Oogie Boogie, is a very entertaining villain, despite the fact that he doesn't have a big role or a clear motive on why he's evil. Another reason why I love this movie is not only because of the Halloween Town levels in the Kingdom Hearts games, but because this film influenced one of my favorite seasonal rides at Disneyland. So, with that said, The Nightmare Before Christmas is a must-watch during the Halloween or Christmas seasons. Now, before we get started with this spot, let me remind you guys that I never consider myself a brony. When I first heard about the My Little Pony toys on TV during the early 2000s, I didn't feel very interested due to it looking like it was mainly made for little girls. But during fall 2017, 9 years after becoming Mustang Prince, I decided to step up and give the Friendship is Magic theatrical movie a chance. And after seeing it with my grandmother, not only did I enjoy it, but it made me want to check out the TV show that Lauren Faust created. And as I watched each episode, I started to understand why everybody, male or female, young or old, love it. Plus, this show helped me learn several lessons in order to become a good friend. And trust me, Friendship is Magic is way better than Pony Life. But back onto the movie. Taking place between the 7th and 8th seasons, Princess Twilight Sparkle is hosting Equestria's first Friendship Festival in Canterlot. But then the entire celebration is crashed by the Storm King's army, led by Tempest Shadow, who petrifies Princess Celestia, Luna, and Cadance in order to harness their magic to power the staff of Zacanas. So it's up to Twilight and the main six to save their homeland by embarking on a journey beyond Equestria while encountering new friends and exciting challenges. In my eyes, the Toon Boom Harmony animation looks very stunning and magical, and some parts look almost 3D. Also, I think it's equally as great as the Rainbow Road Trip special that was made afterwards. One of my favorite scenes is when the main six become sea ponies in Sequestria. And I think the final climax is really epic and intense. Plus, the movie's musical numbers are wonderful to listen to, like We Got This Together, Time to Be Awesome, Rainbow, and One Small Thing. Also, I love the new characters that Twilight and her friends meet while on their quest, like the con artist cat Capper, voiced by Taye Diggs, Captain Solano, voiced by Zoe Saldana, and Princess Skystar, voiced by Kristen Chenoweth, who are all amazing supporting characters. Tempest Shadow, voiced by Emily Blunt, was a dark and badass character, though her backstory during her villain song really made me feel bad due to an Ursa Minor breaking her horn. And the main villain, the Storm King, voiced by Liv Schreiber, is a really threatening, power-hungry, but sometimes silly character. As for the main six themselves, well, while Princess Twilight may have had some ups and downs sometimes throughout this movie, I can't not like her, since she is my #1 cartoon crush. And of course, Tara Strong is my all-time favorite voice actress. Plus, I think her assistant/son, Spike, is very helpful and loyal. But, out of all the members of the main six, I think Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Pinkie Pie stand out the most, due to what they do for their new friends. However, nowadays, I kind of wish that the movie could have featured other characters, like Twilight's brother, Shining Armor, her niece, Flurry Heart, or even Star Swirl the Bearded and the Pillars of Hope. But despite that, this movie is still cute, charming, and a lot of fun. With a film like My Little Pony the movie, it really shows that friendship is magical.